A very good morning, all of you. Hope everybody is in front of your systems. I repeat, everybody. Hope everybody is ready in front of your systems or the mobile phones. We will now just look at your today's concept. So, today we'll be learning about something called multi-threading. So, I repeat, everybody. Today we'll be learning on something called multi-threading. So in yesterday's class we are done with exceptions and today we'll learn about something called multi-threading. I repeat, we will learn about something called multi-threading in today's class. So as we see the instructions daily, we'll just look at our instructions and please concentrate. We'll also discuss something more in the instructions today. So the training schedule we are looking at, your training will be there from Monday to Saturday and from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. I repeat, everybody, your session will be there from Monday to Saturday and from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. मैं फिर से रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, आपका सेशन होगा मंडे से लेके सैटरडे तक और 11:30 बजे से लेके 1 बजे तक चलता रहेगा. मैं फिर से रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, आपका जो सेशन है वो मंडे से लेके सैटरडे तक चलेगा और 11:30 बजे से लेके 1 बजे तक चलता रहेगा. और आपको आपके जितने भी क्वेश्चंस होंगे, जितने भी डाउट्स होंगे, आप अपने कैज़ेला ग्रुप में पूछ सकते हैं ताकि हम लोग आपको रिप्लाई दे सकें, आपके डाउट्स को और क्वेश्चंस को आंसर कर सकें. And the assignments will be given whenever it is required so that so that you can understand in detail about those concepts, and you are requested to submit the assignments in the given timeline. I'm repeating it again. You will be given with assignments wherever it is required so that you are expected to submit those assignments in the given timeline. मैं फिर से बता रहा हूँ, आपको जो भी क्वेश्चंस रहेंगे अपना कैज़ला ग्रुप पे पूछ सकते हो, एंड जो भी जहाँ जहाँ पे ज़रूरत पड़ेगा हम लोग आपको असाइनमेंट देंगे. असाइनमेंट कंप्लीट करके अपने टाइम पे सबमिट कर दीजिएगा. आई रिपीट, एवरीबडी, आपको जितने भी क्वेश्चंस रहेंगे आप अपने कैज़ला ग्रुप में पूछ सकते हो और जहाँ जहाँ पे असाइनमेंट का ज़रूरत होता है हम लोग असाइनमेंट देंगे ताकि वो आप असाइनमेंट कंप्लीट करके टाइम पे सबमिट कर दीजिएगा. एंड आई वाज गेटिंग लॉट ऑफ रिक्वेस्ट, आई मीन regarding your file input and output operations. I repeat, everybody, you are looking at file input and output operations in your mobile which you are not able to do it. So I thought I will do it today, but my phone is not mirroring properly. So earlier I was showing you my screen over here, right? So this is not working on my mobile for some reason, I don't know. So I will just rectify that so that you can see this tomorrow. As it is a free version, there is some problem happening. So I will ensure that tomorrow it is ready and I'll show you how to operate your files on mobile. So file input output operations on mobile, we will see it tomorrow so that you can start working on it. For today, we will be giving you assignment on exceptions and you are supposed to complete it and give it to us tomorrow. I repeat, everybody, the file input output operations on mobile, you were not able to do it. So those programs I will show it by running it tomorrow in the class. Today you are supposed to practice exceptions and we will give you an assignment in exception. Please complete it and submit by tomorrow. And people who haven't done the registration, please uh, look at the link on my screen. Try to click on that link and try to register yourself for the certification program. People who haven't still registered, there is a link on my screen. You can go to that link and then try to register yourself for the program so that we can start your certification procedure. People who have already done this process, people who have already registered, please ignore. I repeat it again. People who have done the who have not done the registration, please do the registration. जितने लोग अभी तक रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं किए हैं, आपसे ये निवेदन है कि रजिस्ट्रेशन जल्दी कर ले। एंड रजिस्ट्रेशन करने के लिए स्क्रीन पे लिंक दिया जा रहा है, उस पर क्लिक करके आप अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन कंप्लीट कर सकते हो। एंड जो लोग ऑलरेडी रजिस्टर कर लिए हैं, ये अनाउंसमेंट को इग्नोर कर लीजिएगा। I repeat everybody, people who haven't registered for the MTA course, please register in the link shown on my screen so that your certification procedure can be started. And I repeat again, file IO mobile programs will be displayed tomorrow, will be shown tomorrow. Today you will be given with an exception handling assignment so that you are supposed to complete the exception handling assignment today. I repeat everybody, you are supposed to do the exceptional handling example today. Examples and the assignment today. So with respect to the content, these are the concepts that we have been showing it to you every day, wherein you need to concentrate on these concepts so that you prepare well and achieve minimum score of 70%. हम लोग हर दिन ये कॉन्सेप्ट्स दिखा रहे हैं ताकि आप इन कॉन्सेप्ट्स को याद रख ले और इन कॉन्सेप्ट्स के ऊपर प्रिपेयर हो जाए ताकि आपको मिनिमम 70% स्कोर मिले एंड आप सर्टिफिकेशन क्लियर हो सके. So that's the reason why we are showing you this content every day. Now we'll get into programming. So we will now get into a concept called multi-threading. So in Java, this is one of the important concept called multi-threading. So this concept will enable us to do multiple tasks at a given point. I repeat everybody, people who have, sorry, people who are working on Java, whenever you wanted to work on multiple processes, those multiple processes can be run easily with a concept called multi-threading. I repeat, multi-threading is one concept in Java which can help you to run multiple tasks simultaneously. जैसा हमारा ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम है, ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम में जाके हम लोग कुछ वीडियो प्ले कर सकते हैं. I can just go ahead and do some video editing in my video editor. I can open up a video and do a video editing, and parallelly I can open up a Word document. And then I can start writing something, and parallelly I can open up my YouTube and watch some video or listen to some audio. So I want to play some audio and then parallelly I want to write my document. So these are multi-threading. You're writing your document is one thread. Parallelly watching your YouTube or listening to your YouTube is another thread. So in your operating system, you are doing multiple tasks. Task 1 is given to thread 1, task 2 is given to thread 2, task 3 is given to thread 3. Now all these threads can run simultaneously. One can sleep, one can stop, one can continue. So you have multiple processes to understand. So what is a thread, sir? What is a thread, sir? So before understanding what is multi-threading, let me understand what is a thread. So today's concept that we will be learning is multi-threading. Now this multi-threading concept, when you wanted to learn, then you need to learn about something called your thread. What is a thread first? So to look at, thread is nothing but a lightweight process. Sir, what is lightweight, sir? What is lightweight, sir? कोड कुछ weight रहेगा क्या? 10 grams, 20 grams, 30 grams? No, it is not about the regular weight that we see. Weight is nothing but your how much time that is taking to process and how much memory it is consuming, that is considered as its weight. So now your lightweight components are nothing but lightweight processes are nothing but something which will run with a low memory and which will run faster. Those are called as your threads. Now thread is a lightweight process or a small unit which is processed is called thread, which is nothing but a small program. Thread is nothing but a small program which consumes less memory and which is used to execute a particular task is called a thread. Say I wanted to open up a file, that I can give it to a thread. Now that thread can perform that particular task of opening a file. Now again I can ask another thread, I can create another thread to write it to the document. I can use another thread to read it from the document. So that's how you use a concept called multi-threading. So multi-threading is nothing but having multiple threads working together. So multi-threading is nothing but multiprocessing, a multiprocessing with a shared memory area, which means you will have a single memory which is shared by all the different threads. That's your concept called multi-threading. Say to understand it more, let me get into pain. So now once you look at, this is my process called one process which is nothing but called as thread. Now what this thread can do, say I wanted to use this thread in order to open a file. Now this thread is nothing but a program. We considered this as thread because it is a small process. Now it is nothing but a small code. Say I have this code which is used to open up a file. So I'll call it as file f1 equal to new file, and I'll give the path over here and then close it. I will give my path over here. So now this is a thread which it can create a file. It can open up a file. So this is how you create one thread. And this thread I can call it as thread 1. Now similarly, I wanted to have another process. I wanted to have another small process called your thread 2. Now this can read the values from the file. So when you wanted to read the values from the file, you can have your file streams. Now I can have my file stream code here. Now this is a different thread and this is a different thread. Whenever I want to stop one thread, whenever I want to start another thread, I can do it on my own. So whenever I want to open up one file, whenever I want to open up multiple files, till now we have been seeing only one file. Now I want to open multiple files at a time. How do I open? I want to close multiple files at a time. How do I close? I want to read from multiple documents at a time. How do I do? So all those things are nothing but your multi-threading concept. So basically thread is a lightweight component or a lightweight process which has a small unit for processing, or basically it is called a thread, it is called a lightweight process. A thread is nothing but a lightweight process. Now what is this multi-threading? Multi-threading is nothing but having multiple processes to operate at a given point of time. At any given point of time, when you are processing multiple things, when you are doing multiple things at a given point of time, then we use something called multi-threading. Now this multi-threading is nothing but multi-processing. This is nothing but called multi-processing. But the one advantage that we have it is you do multiple things, but the memory that is used is same, which is shared by all the threads. Now if you could look at the memory that is being utilized by both of these is same, but this memory is being shared like the block 1 and block 2. This is how it is being shared. the memory is being shared between the threads. The memory utilized is same, but the memory available is being shared by multiple threads. Sir, where do we commonly use this? We see this with an example of your operating system, as I have shown you. You can do multiple tasks, task 1, task 2, task 3 in different operations. Say I can open up your YouTube, I can open up your document to write, I can open up calculator to calculate at a given point of time. So I can open up multiple applications at a given point of time. So that's one example. And two, you have example of your games, lot of games. So if you look at lot of games, then games has multiple things available in it. Say you can open up and have multiplayer being played. Once you are playing, somebody else is trying, say you look at the example of PUBG. PUBG is one good example where multiple players will try to play together, where they will try to fight. Now multiple players are there and multiple tasks are being performed. Somebody is trying to kill you from back and front. So you try to kill somebody in your front and somebody in your back. So all of these are your multiple tasks that you do. You do a multitasking. So you fire and then you immediately try to change your gun. So that's how you stop one process and do another process. So that's how you have a different task listed out. Whenever you want to switch between the tasks, you switch between the tasks. So that is something called as your multi-threading. इसको हम लोग मल्टी थ्रेडिंग करते हैं. मल्टी थ्रेडिंग एक ऐसा प्रोसेस है जहां पे मल्टीपल टास्क को एक साथ रन कर सकते हो और एक टास्क से दूसरे दूसरे टास्क पे स्विच करके एक टास्क पहले करते हो, एक टास्क बाद में करते हो, एक टास्क पहले करते हो, बीच में रोकते हो, फिर से उसके बाद कंटिन्यू करते हो. सो जैसा करना चाहते हैं वैसा हम लोग कर सकते हैं. एक प्रोसेस को, एक एग्जीक्यूशन को, एक टास्क जो करना चाहते हो उसको ब्रेक करके फिर से कंटिन्यू कर सकते हो. सो दैट्स एन एडवांटेज दैट यू हैव इट्स इन समथिंग कॉल्ड मल्टी थ्रेडिंग. सो जैसा हमारा पबजी का एग्जाम्पल होता है, सो यू किल पीपल, यू आर किल्ड बाय पीपल. So all that you do in your games is also your multi-threading concept. So you perform multiple tasks at a given point of time, where one task can be stopped, one task can be continued, one task can be resumed later again. So that kind of an advantage that you have it with something called multi-threading. Now, what is the advantage of having multi-threading? What is the use of having multi-threading for you? So the advantage is the user need not have to block, which means user need not have to wait for something. He can independently go to one thread and do something else. And again, if he don't want to work on this, he can go to another thread and do another task. So that's how independently you can operate on multiple things at a given point of time. सो अगर आपका कंप्यूटर कहता है, जब आप पेंट को ओपन करना चाहते हो तो आपको ये यूट्यूब क्लोज करना है, ये जो हमारा यूट्यूब लाइव स्ट्रीमिंग हो रहा है, अगर हमारा कंप्यूटर बताएगा कि लाइव स्ट्रीम क्लोज करो तभी मैं अपना पेंट यूज करूंगा, तो मैं आपको ये पेंट पे दिखा सकूंगा क्या? इफ माई यूट्यूब सेज you should close me if you want to open paint, then can I show you this paint in my live streaming? Obviously no. But my YouTube is allowing me, or the Google Chrome is allowing me to open up Google Chrome and also to open up my paint together. So that's how the user is not blocked. I am not blocked, or I am not stopped in opening paint and also Google Chrome at a time. See, I am able to open up my Google Chrome, and also I am able to open up my PowerPoint. I am also able to open up my document. I am also able to open up my Paint. So I can able to open up all these applications independently. I can, whatever I want to do it, I am able to do it on my computer. So that's how you are not blocked. If you want to open up the Word document, you should close Paint. If there is any rule like that, then the user can do only one task at a time. Now you have got the facility to do multiple tasks at a time. That's something, the biggest advantage that you have it, which is nothing but the user is not blocked with one particular process. You can do multiple process at a given point of time. This is one advantage that you have it with something called multi-threading. And the second advantage, you can perform many operations together, so it saves your time. So which means you can perform many operations. User is not blocked, which means user is allowed to do multiple processes. So that's the second benefit. And the third benefit is you can have threads independent of another, which means once I open up my paint, it is not affecting my Word document. Once I open up my Word document, it is not affecting my paint. So one application or one thread is not affected by another thread. The threads are independent. If you wanted to create any relationship, you can create, but ideally the threads are independent. So thread 1 is independent and thread 2 is independent. If you wanted to have a connectivity, once I open up my thread 1, I should also open up my thread 2. If you wanted to have anything as such, then yes, you can create. Say for example, now this is one example that I will show it to you. See, this is my presentation view, slideshow view. Once I close it, this is my PowerPoint presentation. Now once I make it as slideshow, once I click on it, see, there is no option that I can close it from the user interface. I should only click on escape, then it will close. Now I wanted to open this up. Now I come back to PowerPoint. I want to close it. When I want to close it, see, my slideshow is also closed. There is no slideshow. My slideshow is also closed and my PowerPoint is also closed. Now see, once I open up my PowerPoint, this is my PowerPoint. This is one thread. Once I open up slideshow, see, you can see two things here. You have PowerPoint and you have your slideshow also. This is your slideshow and this is your PowerPoint. See, this is my PowerPoint and backside you have got slideshow. Now I have the slideshow and the PowerPoint. Now these two threads are dependent. Once I close this, see, my slideshow is also closed. So you can create dependent threads, you can create independent threads also. So ideally threads are independent. If you want, you can make them dependent. I repeat everybody, every single thread is independent. But if you want it to be dependent, you can create with your code. Ideally, all these threads are independent. So I repeat everybody again, the advantages that you have it is user is not blocked with one process. The user is not blocked with one process, saying that you should do only task number one. You cannot do task number two. Kind of instructions are not given. Once you have multi-threading, you can do multiple tasks at a given point of time. So the first benefit is user is not blocked. Second benefit is you can do multiple tasks at a given point of time. And then the third is the threads are independent. The three benefits are the benefits of using multi-threading. So thread is nothing but is a lightweight process. It is a lightweight process. And once you look at it, the advantages are, first one, it will won't block user with one process. And the second one is multiple tasks can be performed at a given point of time. Third one is threads are independent. So these are the three advantages that we have it for your multi-threading. Now if you could look at what is what kind of multi-threading that you can have it. So there are two ways that you can have your multi-threading. One is process based multitasking. That is, you can perform a process. Based on the process, you can have multitasking. Say you wanted to communicate with an application in with respect to a process. Say for example, I wanted to save this file, or say I wanted to apply the word art to this particular multi-threading. I can apply it by going to insert and then clicking on word art. I can do this, right? And also I can do the same thing. Once I right click, then there is an option that is available here. I can just go ahead and get the style from here. I can make it like this. So that's how you have got an option. You can go it from your quick access toolbar, or you can go to your ribbon and then get your style. So that is your process based multitasking. So you can do a multitasking based on different processes. That is called your process based multitasking. And then the thread based multitasking. So the thread based multitasking is nothing but called as multi-threading, which is based on a thread, not on a process. I repeat, there is process based multitasking, there is thread based multitasking. Process based multitasking is called multiprocessing, and a thread based multitasking is called multi-threading. I repeat, everybody, there are two things where we always get confused. The thread based multitasking, that is, the thread can have multiple things, and the thread will have the shared memory space. The thread will have the shared memory space. So if you could look at whatever I was talking earlier, like open a Word document, open Google, all that are nothing but your multi-processing. What is multi-threading? Multi-threading is where when you wanted to do multiple processes with a shared memory. Say for example, we have got your calculator. Now once you go with a calculator, you open up and write something plus 9. If you do anything wrong, you put it as C, then see this memory is stored. This memory is stored, and now you can perform a different operation. Earlier I was doing 986 plus 9. Now I am doing it as 986 plus 6. So that's how you use a shared memory. The same memory address space is used in order to work on the component. So that particular tasking is called multi-threading. Using a single memory addressing, you wanted to do multiple tasks, then that is called your multi-threading concept. So there is a process called multiprocessing and multi-threading. So multiprocessing is nothing but processing based on multitasking. So processes based on multitasking is done with the help of multiprocessing. Multi-threading is based on a thread. So thread is nothing but a lightweight component which is shared with which is working on a shared memory, which is working on a shared memory. Got it? So this is how you use something called multiprocessing and multi-threading. So today we will be working on something called multi-threading. So now we will go ahead and look at our Oracle website to understand thread class. So thread class in Java, Oracle. See, now thread has a documentation. Thread is defined as a class in your Java. as we have date, as we have your array, everything defined in your library. Similarly, your Java library, which is java.lang, has something called thread. Java.lang.thread is available in your Java, which is there as a lightweight component which is executing your program. Now, whenever you wanted to work with thread, you will extend this class called thread. Say if your class name is prime thread in this situation, if at all we call the class as class my class. If the name of my class is my class, in that case, I will use it as class my class. So I will open up this URL in Microsoft Edge. See, if you just get in here, see this is what you have it called your thread, which has something called your extending a class called thread, which can be utilized in your program while you are running it as a class. Now, whenever you are using it, see there is a method written over here run. There is a method written over here start. So that's how there are multiple methods that are listed out with your thread. As we have date also having some methods with it. Similarly, like get date, get year, get month. So similarly, here also we have got your start, run, sleep, current thread. There are different kinds of methods that are available in order to work with your thread class also. So there are some close to some 40 methods. So some 35 to 40 methods are available in your thread class, which will help you in order to work with the threads. So of which the important methods are your start thread, your run. Start is nothing but starting your thread, run is nothing but you're executing your thread, sleep is nothing but you wanted to stop it for some time, you don't want the execution to happen for some time, then we use something called sleep. And then we use current thread to return to tell the current thread which is executing, and then join to ensure that it is joined or it waits for the thread to die. And then you can also go ahead and get priority to your particular thread, and you can set priority to the thread. So that's how there are multiple methods available, like 35 to 40 methods are available in your thread in order to work on it. So once you go, like, look at the summary of it, see the thread also have got constructors, and then see you have so many methods listed out. So there are different methods that are listed out here, some 35 to 40 methods that this your thread class is supporting. So once you are using this, once you are uh, using your thread in your program, you should be able to use all of these methods. Now, before using these methods, we will have to understand the very important concept called life cycle of a thread. We should understand something called life cycle of a thread. So the life cycle of a thread is nothing but how the thread gets started and how the thread gets terminated. How the thread gets started and how the thread gets terminated. This is what you should learn with something called life cycle of a thread. We should understand the life cycle of a thread. So we will now get into our paint application to understand. So the different stages through which the thread passes is, we'll go with one after the other. The first stage of life cycle of thread is new. Then second one is your runnable, and the third one is your running, and then fourth one is your non runnable. This is also called blocked. And then Fifth one is called terminated. So these are the 5 stages the life cycle of a thread has. So the thread passes through these 5 stages. So when it is new, which means it is getting created. Say I will take up this example like this. Now the first one called new. Now this is a stage in which it is created. Once it is created, you can start using it. When you want to start using it, when you want to make it runnable, you should start it. So what is runnable? So I will call it as start is a method which will ensure that your thread is getting executed. Now I'm using this start method so that I ensure that my existing thread, whatever the new thread that is created, is now ready to execute. That is called, when it is ready to execute, then it is called runnable. It is called runnable. Once it is runnable, which means my thread which is created is now started. Once it is started, then it can be made runnable. Now once it is running, if once it is made runnable, you can start and you can run. Now you can use a method called run. So as you were using start, it gets created. Similarly, we have got a method called run which will make it run. So now once it is making it as a run, then I will ensure that my thread is running. I will ensure that my thread is running. Once the run is executed, my thread will be running. So which means my ready to start is now in a state of running. So runnable is ready to start. You can start working with it, and running is where the thread is executing. Now, at a given point of time, because of some problem, because of some reason, you wanted to block it. You wanted to block it. Then in that case, you will get into a state called, you will get into a state called blocked or non-runnable state. Non-runnable state, where you wanted to make this running application into a non-runnable state. This is now converted into a non-runnable state, and which is not terminated, which is not closed. The process is not closed. Now the process is kept on hold. When you want to kept on hold, the running state is moved into non-runnable. Once you want to again get it back, in that case you again give it back to runnable mode. Got it? Your non-runnable mode will be converted into runnable mode, and again you run. And after that, if you feel that the execution is over, if the complete performance is over, then in that case you can go ahead and terminate. That can be terminated with the help of a stage called terminated. Now when you wanted to terminate, you can just go ahead and terminate. So then it will be terminated stage. So once you look at this, once you wanted to create a new, then it is a new state. Once you have started it, then it will be in runnable. And once you wanted to run it, you execute run method so that it becomes running. And then when you wanted to submit it, when you wanted to stop it, when you wanted to ensure that this method is not running right now, in for that you can use something called suspend, or you can also use something called wait. You can use something called sleep. So this is how you can use these methods like suspend, wait, or sleep in order to take it to the non-runnable stage and resume it back. So when you wanted to resume it back, you can use like sleep, you can use methods like resume, you can use the methods like notify, so that it again gets started. So these are the different methods that you can use in order to make again my non-runnable into runnable. A new thread is made as runnable by using start. Now the runnable which is ready to start is started using something called run. Once it is running, if you want to stop it for some time, then you can suspend, you can wait, you can sleep, so that it will get into non-runnable, which is not executed. Now once you wanted to again execute it, then you can use sleep method, resume method, notify method, so that it will be ready to start. Once you want to start it, you can use running, and then you can go ahead and use terminated, which means the process can be executed like this. So it will go from new to run. That is, you can just go ahead and click on new to runnable. So let me just take some other color to understand better. So you just go to new to runnable, runnable to running, and running can be kept in hold for some time to runnable, non-runnable, and non-runnable can again go and become runnable, and after that it can be running and then terminated. And once the task is over, then it can be terminated. And if you wanted to run a process without putting it in hold, you can just run your task, and then it will be continuously running. And once your task is completed, it can also be terminated. So whenever you want to put it on hold, you can put it on hold. Whenever you don't want to put it on hold, you want to terminate, you can terminate. So any thread can be slept for some time, can be kept in hold for some time and resumed back, or any thread can be terminated also, right? So starting and closing. Before starting and closing, there is a new process that is available called hold. So in ideal processes, you either start execution, stop execution. But now you start execution, you can keep it on hold, and you can do another execution during that process, and then you can terminate both of them. You can close both of them. So that is an advantage that you have it with something called multi-threading. So the life cycle of multi-threading is nothing but new, runnable, running, and non-runnable, and then terminated. These are the 5 stages that you have it with respect to something called your thread. So the thread has something called life cycle. That is nothing but your new, runnable, running, non-running, that is non-runnable, and then your terminated. Now we will see how do we create a thread. How do we create a thread? So as I have told you, the thread can be created by extending, by getting or by inheriting a class called thread. Whenever you write it as class extend thread, which means the thread class is inherited into your class. Whenever you write it, I'll go to my IntelliJ IDE. I'll go to file, new project, sorry, I'll go to file, new, and then project. Now I'll create a new project with 14 version and wanted to have a command line app template. I'll call it as multi sample, new window. I'll close my old window. Now this is where I wanted to work on multi-sample in my main program. See, whenever I write it as my class main extends thread, see, it is raising an error because I should use it from which package? Import java dot lang dot thread. See, once I write it, see there is an error. Once I just go to my library, it says your java dot lang dot thread. See that thread that you look at it over here, it is capital T. So which is your thread. Once I come back here, I'll make it as T capital. Then see, it is by default extended. Now once I get it, see, I'm able to get your, I can able to create my thread with the kind of constructor, that is the thread constructor can be created. The thread constructor can be called. So with the help of the object of your thread class, you can call your thread constructor. You can have the overloaded constructor being called. So all the methods of the thread class can also be used in your program. So that's how we work on something called your thread. So the thread class can be imported or extended by using something called your thread. So once you write it as extends thread, which means you get the support of existing methods. That is, once you wanted to have your run method, see the run method, you can create it. So to create it, how do you do it? You can just go ahead and put it as public void run. Now this is the method that you have got created now. So this is a run method that I wanted to use it because this is executing, or this is working with something called thread. Now it is raising me an error. Once I just go ahead and look at it, see, it is expecting something called an a closing symbol, because it is not identifying it as an expression. So I can just go ahead and put it as a separate method. Outside my main method, I will put it as a separate method. Then see, it is now identified as a existing method. So now once I just go ahead and work on it, I will put it as system.out.println, and I will write it as my thread. I am writing this as my thread. Now what I'm doing it is, I wanted to create an object. I am creating it as an object. So the object of my class that I wanted to create is main m1 equal to new main. Now I've got my thread. Now to start it, I will just go ahead and put it as m1 dot start. See, this is how I started. Once I started, see, once I execute it, see, it is my thread is printing. If it is a normal method, how do I have to call it? I should call it as m1 dot run. This is how I should call it as a normal method. But it is not my normal method. It is my method that I wanted to run it as a thread. When I wanted to run it as a thread, I should start my thread. Once I start it, my thread will start running. So this is how I will start my thread. So this is how you get the support of your methods. Now start is a support which is given by your thread class. Similarly, run is a support given by your thread class. So that's how you have got your start method, you have got your run method, and different other methods which are supported by your thread class. So your thread class which is supporting, which has, if you could see, there is a run method that is available, there is a start method that is available. So if you could look at, my class is created with this public run method, which is started with an object. As you have got prime thread, similarly I have got my main class here, which is extending thread. So now I have created an object. Now I have created it as m1. m1 dot start. It started my thread. So that is how you write something called multi-threading. So you use threading, you use thread in your program with the help of, with the help of inheriting your class called thread. A class called thread is inherited into your program so that you get the support of multi-threading into your program. Now the same support of multi-threading can also be obtained from an interface. There is an interface available called your there is an interface that is available called runnable. This is an interface which is available in your Java. So this particular interface will try to help you. When you wanted to get the support of interface, as I have told you, you should write it something called implements. When you are using an interface, you should use it as implements. When you are using a class being inherited, when a class is being inherited, you should write something called extents. When you want to get the support of an interface, then you should write it as implements. Now I need to get the support of an interface called runnable. In that case, I will put it as runnable. Now see, I am getting the support of runnable here. Once I am writing it as runnable, my start is not working because it is not getting the support of your thread. Now to get the support of your thread, I should write it as my thread T1 equal to new thread. Now whenever I want to pass it, now I should pass my object here because I want to run my M1 object. So I will pass my M1 object into the thread, and after that I will put it as T1 dot start, which will start my application, which will start my thread. So which means a thread can be started by using runnable, or it can also be started by using something called thread class. So what is that we have learned right now? Threads can be used first by inheriting a class called thread, or by implementing an interface called runnable. This is T capital thread class. You can inherit a thread class, or you can inherit runnable. So you can implement runnable, or you can extend thread. Now whenever you are doing the first process or the second process, you can able to use a concept called threading. The threading concept can be utilized by extending a thread class or implementing the runnable interface. Now when you are using with the interface, you should write it like this. When you are using with a class called your thread, then you should write it as extends thread, and in this particular class you can directly write it as your your m1 dot start. This is with the help of your thread class. If you want to implement it with the help of runnable, then you can write it as implements runnable, and here you can write it as you should create an object for your thread additionally, that is t1 equal to new thread, and you should pass your m1 object here, and then you should put it as t1 dot start, which will start my thread here. So you can execute this and see the output will be the same, which means you can execute a thread by using the thread class or your runnable interface. So this is how you can create a thread in your Java. So I repeat everybody, this is how you can create a thread in your Java. Now it is already close to 1 hour, so we will take a 5 minutes break to give your attendance. Once the attendance is over, then we will talk about something called how do we schedule a thread, how do you do multitasking, all that we will see after this. So we will create a thread, we will schedule a thread, we will sleep a thread, we will try to do all of that in the next half. We will now take a break and try to give your attendance. I request everybody, please give your attendance in your Kaisara group so that we can catch up in 5 minutes. So guys, we'll just continue it now. See, a thread is nothing but a process that we have seen. Now executing this process, printing this process is your thread that it is performing. Now what is that we wanted to do is we wanted to schedule, we wanted to ensure that the particular thread is created with some scheduling, or we wanted to ensure that the particular thread is sleeping for some time, or after that it is executing it. So a thread scheduler or a thread scheduling is nothing but we wanted to prioritize which task should be executed first. Say if there are two tasks, which task you wanted to make it first, which task you wanted to do it later. For those kind of scenarios, we use something called your thread scheduling, which can be done with the help of a method called sleep. Now you have this method called sleep, which will try to ensure, which will try to tell you that the execution can be stopped for some time and can be resumed later. I repeat everybody, the thread will stop or which will not execute for the specific time, and after that it will continue executing it. So that particular process is called sleeping process. During this process, you can schedule or you can ask, you can run another process during that time. So that is called your sleeping or prioritizing or scheduling your threads. I repeat again, sleep is a method. So we will look at a method called sleep. Now this sleep method will sleep your process, yani stop your process for some time. When it is stopping that process for some time, then obviously during that process you can execute something else, or you need not have to execute something else also. If you stop it for some time, it will not do anything for that given time, and again it will continue performing normally. Say if there is a for loop, what this for loop will do, will print the values for every iteration. If you want to stop it for some time, then it will not print anything during that sleeping time, and it will continue normally for the remaining time. That is how you perform your sleep operation. Now we'll look at that example to understand how this thread sleeping is being performed. Now what we do, as we have got runnable method here where we wanted to run it, we continue to use the same method. Now in this, I will now go ahead and put it as for of int I is equal to 1, and then I less than 10, and then I plus plus. This is how I wanted to rotate a for loop. And after that, I can just go ahead and put it as system dot out dot println, and then I want to put it as I. Now once I put it as I, then it will start printing everything. Now what I will do, I will just come back here and put it as my main method implements. Instead of implements, we will call it as extends thread, because I wanted to get the direct support of the object. So after that, what I will do is I will just come back here and put it as main m1 equal to new main, and then I will now try to put it as my m1 dot start. Once I run this, then what will happen? We have seen in the last example, this run will get executed. Now once I run this, then see it is printing all the values starting from 1 to 9. So which is less than 10, so it is printing all the values, which is commonly understood. So now instead of printing it here, I want to print it in the same line. Then I'll put it as plus and then I'll give it as quotes and backslash t so that there will be a tab space. Once I run this, then everything will be in the same line with some spacing. Now this is how I am printing it. Now what I wanted to do is, this is a normal printing. This is calling a thread and executing. Now I have called my thread is executed, my run is executed. When I click on start, what will happen? Once I click on start, it will become runnable. Once it is runnable, I should run my run method so that it becomes running. So in that case, once I do the start, it will go to the run method. Once it is running it, then it gets into a runnable mode, which is the thread is now getting into running. Once this run method is executed, then the thread will execute, or the thread will become runnable to running. Once I have this start, then the thread will convert into runnable. Once I execute run, then it will be running. That is, thread will be running. So now this thread is running normally. Now what I wanted to do is, I want to sleep it for some time. Once I want to sleep it for some time, I come here in the for loop. I will open up my try, which is my exception block. In that exception block, I will put it as thread dot sleep, and I want to sleep it for 500 milliseconds. I want to sleep it for 500 milliseconds. So once I wanted to sleep it for 500 milliseconds, and after that I will now go ahead and put it as catch block. In this catch block, I will give an exception called interrupted exception. So this is an exception which will tell us that there is an error, which means the thread is not executing. There is an interruption. So when there is an interruption, when the for loop is normally not executed, that is when it is not able to print I value equal to 1 and immediately I value equal to 2, which means somebody is intervening. Somebody is trying to stop printing it. So which means there is an error. To overcome that error, we are using an interrupted exception, that is interrupted exception here, and then I'm putting it here system dot out dot println there is an error if it is happening. If it is not happening, if this exception is not performing, then I need to go ahead and execute my regular printing. So my regular printing should start. Now what is that I wanted to do is, I wanted to create two different objects for the same class. I wanted to create the two different objects for the same class and wanted to see what is it happening. Now I've got m1. Now I'll put it as main m2 equal to new main, and then I'll again start another thread m2 dot start. This is how I've started my second thread. So once I'm sleeping it for some time and then running it the another. So once I run this, then see it is executed after some time. If you could look at, there is a delay factor. Once you look at it, for loop is executed after some delay. If you take this off also and run this, then see it is executed after some delay. So because during that point it is delayed, it is sleeping. This particular thread is sleeping for some time. When it is sleeping for some time, then we are not able to get that through. We are not able to get that for loop getting printed immediately. Ideally what it should print, once you execute it, it should start printing the entire values of the for loop, but it is not printing entire values. It will printing one after the other, which means the execution is stopped for 500 milliseconds and printed 500 milliseconds and printed. It is half a second and getting printed. Now I'll make it as 1000. Now once I make it as 1000, see after 1 second it gets printed. Again after second another value. After every 1 second you are getting a new value being printed. So now you are stopping your for loop for every iteration. That is for every time for loop is executed. Now for loop is executed for how many times? For 1 to 9, which is 9 times it is executed. For 9 times you are stopping it for 1 second. So the entire program is executed after 1 second, which means 9 seconds. The entire program time is now 9 seconds. But if you could look at, if you remove this, then the program execution time was immediate. So within a second you are getting it. Now if you do it, the program execution time is made as 9 seconds. You are getting every for loop value after 1 second. So the entire time taken is 9 seconds. So that's how you sleep your thread. That's how you stop your thread for some time. Got it? So that is how you use something called scheduling. You schedule now. You print this after 1 second. That's how we are scheduling it right now. हम लोग यहाँ पे शेड्यूल कर रहे हैं 1 सेकंड के बाद प्रिंट होना चाहिए हमको so we are ensuring that the thread is the value is printed after 1 second. That is how we use something called sleeping with the help of your thread. Now whenever you are working with thread, there is a possibility that you go wrong in calling something called your run method. So the run method is a crucial method which converts your runnable state into running state. So what is happening is your start method is called your start method is going and calling something called run method instead of executing run by itself, which means whenever you execute start method, it will go and interact with something called your run method, and run method starts executing by default. That is how your threading is working. That is how your thread is working. Now we will look at the concept called joining threads. So join method is something which will wait the thread to die. So the join method will try to ensure that the thread is waited to die. What is dying? Which is stopping, which is terminated. So the thread is used with a method called join, which will wait for the thread to die, which will wait till the execution is terminated. So shall we just go ahead and look at this? So we will now go ahead and look at this example right now. Now what we will do? We will continue this particular thread sleeping like this, or we will write it again. To understand it in detail, we will write everything again. Now we have got a main class. We have got a main class. In that you have got a main method. Now as we are working with threading concept, you should have the first method called run, and you should have the second method called so sorry, I'll put it like this. You should have the first method called, what is the first method? You should have it as start, and the second method that you are supposed to have is your method called run. These are the two methods which are helping you in order to work with something called threads. Now the start method will call your run method. So the run method should be defined. So now I come back here and first create my run method. To create my run method, I will call it as public void run method, and in this run method I will use the for loop as I have used earlier. I will call it as for of int I is equal to 0. I will start it from 0 and I is less than 10 and then I plus plus. This is how I have my for loop. In this I will put my try block because there is a chance of getting exception. So I will put it as thread dot sleep and I want to sleep it for 1 second. So once I want to sleep it for 1 second, I am putting it as 1000 because these are millisecond units. Your system calculates in milliseconds. 1000 milliseconds is becoming 1 second. So you are stopping your thread for 1 second. You are sleeping your thread for 1 second. So I am writing it as 1000. And after that, I am putting it as catch. And here I am writing the exception E. Or you can also write it as interrupted exception E. I wanted to ensure that there is no error coming up. So I am writing a general exception E. And after that I will now write it as system.out.println and here I will write it as there is error. If there is any error, then it will say there is error. Now after the catch is over, once the sleeping is over, once the sleeping process is over, then we wanted to ensure after your sleep process is over, we wanted to ensure that the output is printed. So we'll put it as system.out.println. We wanted to print the I value and the I value should be given in the same line. So I'm putting it as \t. So this is how I've got my value. So once I run it without doing anything, without working on anything, so there is this error over here. So in the main, so it is the error is because I need to extend thread, and then after this it is runnable. It is open. So this is how. All right. So if there is any error, it will tell us. Don't worry, we will see. Now after this, we will now just go ahead and put it as main m1 equal to new main, and then we wanted to put it as m1 dot start. Now this will start my thread. Once I execute it, see there is an error expected here. Oh, the run is a method, no? So once we run this, see it is printing all the values after 1 second. So why it is printing in the next line? Because it is given as println. So I will rerun this. Now see everything will be printed in the same line after 1 seconds till the I value becomes 9. This is our earlier program. Now what is that we wanted to do is we wanted to see how our join is working. How our join is working. To ensure that I create another thread. I create another thread that is main m2 equal to new main. This is how I have created my another thread. After that I will now use it as m1 dot join. I wanted to ensure that my m1 is killed. My m1 is killed. Once my m1 is killed, then it says there is a unhandled exception. So I will put this in try block because I wanted to ensure that it is properly seen till it is killed. So I will put this in try block and then have a catch block for this, and in the catch block I'll put it as exception E, and then I will put it as there is some error system.out.println. I am writing this exception only because my IntelliJ IDE is telling there is a possibility of error. So I am writing it there is error. Wherever there is a possibility of error, my IntelliJ is helping me. There is a chance of getting error. Please ensure you write your exception. For that I am writing it. So here I am running my m1 dot start. Now after making it as m1 dot join, I am now making it as m2 dot start. Now I am starting my m2. Now once I run this, now you understand what is this use of join. Now see, it is executing my thread 1. It is executing my thread 1 till the last value, and then it is starting my m2. This is how you do it. Now if you write m1 here, m2 dot start here, once I run this, see my both the threads are running parallelly. Both the threads are running parallelly. And after that, see, it is now raising an exception because the thread is now stopped because I've used join. M2 is now stopped. So now what I'll do, I will go ahead and create. I will just go ahead and create another thread, main m3 equal to new main. Now I've got my another thread. Now I have started my first thread. Now I wanted to see till the end of it, and after that I want to start my thread 2 and thread 3. Once I start this off, see my thread 1 is executed. Once my entire thread 1 is executed till the end of it, it is waiting. Now immediately my thread 2 and thread 3 are executing together. Got it? So this is how it is working. So you can run multiple threads together. You can stop it and run the thread after the process is finished. So what is happening is, in this example, what is happening was the first thread was completed. In this, what it was happening was the first thread was completed till the end of it. And then the second and third threads, were running parallelly. These second and third threads were running parallelly like this. In the earlier program, in the previous program, we were doing it as two threads running parallelly till the end of it. Till the end of it. This is how your two threads were running parallelly till the end of it. Right? Now if you want to run all these three threads parallelly, say if you wanted to run these threads parallelly, that is m1, m2 and m3, you wanted to print it till the end parallelly, then what is that you need to do is, you need not have to use this join. Once you take off this join, once you take off all of this and put it as start, then all three of them will run parallelly. See, 3 zeros, 3 ones, 3 twos, 3 threes, 3 fours. Now all the threads are running parallelly. Now after this, if you wanted to run the first thread completely, first thread should run completely and second thread should run parallelly. In that case, what second and third thread should run parallelly. In that case, what we were doing it as m1 dot join, which means m1 will execute till the end of it. M1 will execute till the end of it, and m2 and m3 will start. So that is this example. Now if you wanted to run it one after the other, which means you wanted to have your thread like this. This is your M1 thread, and after that, after M1 is over, you wanted to run your M2, and after that you wanted to run your M3. In that case, what is that you need to do? Now in the earlier case, in this case, you made M1 dot join and M2 and M3 you executed. Now what you need to do? You need to do M1 dot join, then you should do M2 dot join, then the M3 should run. So now we'll go ahead and look at that. Now what we can do, instead of writing it as M1 dot start, we will have to write it as M1 dot start, and then we will have to write it as join. So whatever we are writing it here, the same code should be written. I will write it as M2 dot start, and after that I will put it as M2 dot join. To understand, let me rewrite it. Don't get confused. Now we will write it as try, and in this try we will have to put it as M2 dot join, and after that, as it is showing me an exception, I am writing it as exception E, and in this I am putting it as there might be an error, so I am writing it as system dot out dot println there is error. Now after that I am executing my M3. Now what is happening, we'll see. Now see, it is the first thread is getting executed. That is M1 is getting executed because I am using M1 dot start. And after that, this is executing till the end of it because I am writing it as M1 dot join. Now M2 have got started and M2 is executing till the end of it because M2 dot join. Now after that, the third one is executing. That because I have written it as M3 dot start. So that's how you can create multiple things. Now if you wanted to do it this way, say M1 and M2 will execute. Now I will have M3 and M4 running parallelly. Then in that case, what you need to do? What is that you are supposed to do? In that case, I will just go ahead and create another thread. Another thread is created by main M4 equal to main M4 equal to new main. And what is that we need to do here? At the end, we should call it as M4 dot start. Once you make it like this, once you put it like this, then it gets started. Now once you click on it, once you execute it, see your first method gets executed now. First thread is getting executed. Now it is executed till the end of it. Now the second thread is also getting executed till the end of it because I am writing M2 dot join also. And after that, see, thread 3 and thread 4 are executing together. 00, 11, 22, 33. Now these are executing it together. So that's how you do your multitasking. So multi-threading can be done. If at all you want to run two things together, if you want to run one after the other, that is, you can run things parallelly, you can run things one after the other according to your choice. Got it? So this is how we use something called multi-threading in Java.